Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cinematic Trinity with me, Michael.
Me, Tulip.
And me, Kieran.
So today we are going to be talking about Ant-Man, so the MCU Ant-Man films. We watched Quantumania yesterday, so we're basically going to start off talking about the newest film, and then we're going to sort of backtrack and talk about Ant-Man 1 and then Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I guess starting off really, what did we think about Quantumania? Because it is quite a divisive film.
I liked it. So that's all that matters to me. I enjoyed it. I've seen that it's been getting a lot of hate, a lot of people saying it's rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And I can understand some reasons why people don't think it's very good. But I personally, in the cinema when I was watching it, I enjoyed it. So
I thought it was just all right.
Yeah, it definitely, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing. It just fit nicely into that little slot in the middle.
Yeah,
where it's watchable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your standard Marvel film that doesn't do anything like a Civil War or like an Endgame, but then it's not as bad as like Captain Marvel, because that's like my worst one. So it's
that is awful.
The middle ground.
I think with this one as well, it had to be a certain way anyway, because it is set up for kind of the next couple films. So they had kind of a tick box that they had to kind of reel off.
Yeah, the sort of next phase. Ant-Man's the beginning, really, of the next phase, isn't it? And
because essentially the sort of brief synopsis is basically the premise is
word.
So they get trapped in the quantum realm again. So it is Ant-Man, the Wasp, Ant-Man's daughter Cassie, and then Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer, who are Hank and Janet. They're just themselves. They all get sort of taken back to the quantum realm by Kang, who is the big bad of this like new phase of the MCU, basically. So it is sort of them trying to get out of the quantum realm while also sort of tackling Kang.
Are we saying spoilers?
Yeah.
Should we say spoilers?
Yeah.
Spoilers. Just I'd completely forgot to decide whether we're going to do spoilers or not. I don't think anybody actually cares, but
no. But going spoilers, because I think one thing that really annoyed me sort of from the offset, which I hate, like it sort of feels like a very lazy narrative thing, is when you have like a character, in this instance it is Michelle Pfeiffer's character, who in the previous films has been stuck in the quantum realm for 30 years, then she gets saved in the second Ant-Man film. And basically, she never mentions who Kang is and that there's people living in the quantum realm. It's just sort of brought into this film as like, why didn't you tell us anything? Oh, well, I didn't, think it was important. It's like, well, it clearly is, because there's like, a madman who could kill us all living in this little universe, and you just never happen to say anything. It just, I don't know, that always like annoys me, because it's sort of like they probably didn't think about it at the time, and then they're like, oh, we need to,
I feel like when you said that to me yesterday, it like unlocked this box of every single film, because there's a lot of films where something will happen, or oh, you never told me you could do that, you never told me you had that ability, you never mentioned that, or oh, I just didn't think, it's like that actually happens.
But then like you say that, and then there's things like, neither of you guys, going back to a previous episode, neither of you guys realised I watched Miss Harris Go to Paris. So it is, it's not like it's entirely unheard of.
I know, but that's
why would
the world. The world isn't
going to
realm
for 30 years and not say, by the way, it was awful. There's people down there. It's awful. Don't go. It's awful. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, she was like, I think she was trying to just say like, she doesn't want to talk about it. Don't concern yourself with the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like she's done some pretty bad things while she was there.
Definitely.
So she's trying to move past
she's
that.
been there for so long. She's just basically lived another life as if she was never coming back, because she probably thought that she wasn't, which is obviously understandable.
Because all the twist that ties into that, or if you want to call it like a twist, is so obviously she's there at the very beginning of the film in the quantum realm. It's like a flashback, and then Kang ends up in the quantum realm because he's been like exiled from the outside world, and he's there, and basically she helps him like get his like stuff back together and rebuilds his spaceship, and then she like realizes, oh no, he's actually like a planet destroying like timeline killing monster, basically. I need to like stop him from getting out of here, or else we're all screwed.
Yeah.
So she does that, but then in turn that basically means that Kang like makes a stronghold in the quantum realm and basically like
well, he does what he does best and takes over worlds, and that was the only world there. Yeah.
So that's like the big, I get it, whether you call it like a twist, it's all the revelation as to why she hadn't said anything, but
Yeah, and then it's another twist as well, I guess, is that it's Darren who is in the first film, is his name Darren?
It's Darren Cross, who's yellow jacket.
Yellow jacket from the very first film.
Yeah, who is MODOK. Yeah.
MODOK, who everybody's saying he looks ridiculous, which is 100% true. The design of it when he takes his helmet off is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But do you not just think it's a ridiculous character anyway?
Yeah.
Like from the it's just completely ridiculous.
It doesn't transfer well to live action in the same way that Doctor Strange's eye of thing that appears on his forehead doesn't really transfer over well, because it's a very animated thing and it doesn't look right in
it's sometimes like the effects in the visual effects in Marvel are like, you know, off the scale, like amazing. But it's almost like the small bits, like they spend so much time on the background, but they don't focus on actually the eye's got to look good, or his face doesn't have to just look like you've literally got a JPEG and zoomed in on it, you know.
That is the problem, like, because I mean, you look at like design of like MODOK and like the comics and stuff, he is very stupid because it is just this massive head in like battle armor. So either you could have just made, like, even if you didn't do it was like Darren, like you just did it, because I don't think he's Darren in the actual comics either. I think he's a fresh new character. So you could have just done him being like a new character. You didn't need to take like the guy's pre-existing face and then, as you say, sort of distort
but
it.
I didn't mind that. I didn't mind.
I got used to it after a while, but
him. I think it was a good way to tie in and to go, you know, it's him, you know.
Yeah, I did. I mean, to be fair, I didn't have any issue with it being Darren as MODOK. I think that the only thing was that it just looked a little bit.
That's what it. Yeah, it's like
stupid.
I said it reminded me of Humpty Dumpty in Puss in Boots. It was just that weird face, like where the face is the whole thing. Like that is weird. You know. I don't like that at all.
But I mean, to be fair, quite a few complaints as well have been about like MODOK and like what they kind of, because I mean, I wasn't like, I like the actor like who played him, Corey Stoll, was good. Like he had a lot of like charisma and stuff, so I did like him because he is good in the first Ant-Man, which we'll talk about. But I feel like just what they kind of did with him was just a bit like, it was just a bit crap. I just didn't really like his like arc in the film.
It just made him kind of like a little bit, just like kind of a nothing person. Like he just like follows the nearest person. Like doesn't actually have anything to himself.
But I think some like villains, because they're like the villain who you think is the villain, but really it's like drug dealers. You think that person's at the top of the chain, but really there's somebody else. So there's always somebody at the top of the chain, isn't there? And that he's one of those people where he thinks that he's the big fish, but really he isn't the big fish, and there's still somebody else pulling the strings. Yeah,
because I mean, his like, so at the end of the first Ant-Man, basically he like his suit malfunctions because Ant-Man like defeats him basically, and then you think he's like dead, but he got transported to the quantum realm, and basically he became deformed, his head became massive, and then Kang found him and then basically made him into Darth
Vader.
No, what's the acronym for MODOK? Because isn't it machine
mean only designed for killing? Because Ant-Man says, it shouldn't be MODOK, it should be MODOK.
Yeah. So, he finds him, and then sort of his arc in this film is obviously he hates Ant-Man for putting him in the quantum realm, but then also is like, you know, I'm the best version of me right now, I'm powerful. And then it's sort of, he works for Kang, and then it just sort of becomes he gets into a fight with Ant-Man's daughter, and then he's like, oh, tell me what I need to be, and it's sort of like kind of, that's what didn't sit right with me.
The end is so weird.
I'll tell you what, the start of that joke where he's like, well, tell me what I need to do, and she's like, just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That bit was funny.
Yeah.
And then they took it far, like they did it far
just
too
kept
much.
going with it.
And, you know, by the end of it, I was just like, you know, you did something funny, and now it's just like, you've kicked her in the face.
Yeah, because then he sacrifices himself at the end when they're fighting Kang, and then as he's dying, he's like, "Oh, I guess I'm kind of an Avenger now. I'm an Avenger now." And they're like, it's just like, well, I was sort of like, what's going on at this point?
I mean, but I think that they're all a bit like that. Like Ant-Man's looking around, like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, but it's just sort of like,
because he's obviously just deluded. Like, but it feels like what they were trying to go for was because the head had been in this, you know, battle or whatever, maybe his brain had just been like fried, and he no longer knew who he was. Like, it could have been explained more if they were like, I don't remember who I am anymore, so I'm just going to follow your lead. And then, do you know what I mean? That's how it kind of felt, but they didn't explain. They didn't say that.
It just didn't sit right. I sort of just sat there like, what's even going on right now? This seems a bit like stupid. Like,
I think it was stupid, but I think the kind of the film knew what it was doing as well, because that point where he is like dying at the end, he's like, I'm an Avenger, then he like touches Paul Rudd's face. I noticed myself making the exact same expression as Paul Rudd, like the kind of like what is going on kind of thing.
At least they're aware.
They did it intentionally. Which I don't know if it makes it any better or worse.
Yeah, because just because it's intentional doesn't mean it's actually funny.
It's that problem which Marvel films run into, which this one does at points where it's sort of there's like a time and a place for comedy, and sometimes they don't slot it in the right place. Like in this film, which obviously they do in quite a few other Marvel films, there will be like in-fight banter between like characters, whereas in this one it was just a bit like, oh, shut up, and like,
I think
what's even going on.
The Ant-Man films in general though have been quite good for comedy, and I think even just like Paul Rudd, like I just think he's brilliant. Like, I do think he's a very good Ant-Man, and I do love him. So I'm happy with, like, I mean, sometimes they, as they say, they do take it a bit far, but I don't think it's as bad as some other.
Yeah, I think of the three Ant-Man films, I feel like this one tried to push it a little bit too far with the comedy and kind of went over the other end.
But it just feels like Marvel is in a very different place. Like, when we watched the first Ant-Man and it didn't have the whole Marvel with all the characters coming in with the scripts and stuff, it was just Marvel Studio and that was it. And I was like, this is so refreshing to go back to when Marvel was like actually just more standalone films, like Iron Man, like the first Iron Man and stuff like that. Like, it was really nice to go back to, and it was like, this doesn't have any stakes, this doesn't have a million other things that I've needed to have watched before I've watched this film. It's not setting up for anything, although, you know, it sets up for the next film kind of thing, but that's it. And it was, and a lot of people have been saying, when we've been watching other people's reviews, is they're saying they're getting like Marvel fatigue, where they're just churning out all this rubbish. But I've not felt it as much because I've not watched a lot of the recent, like, I never watched Doctor Strange, I didn't watch Thor, I haven't watched Loki, so I've not got it as bad. Whereas I think other people have watched a lot more Marvel films, and they're probably thinking, actually, this is just the same as every Marvel film now. Whereas because this is the first one I'm seeing in a while, I'm like, oh, actually, I quite enjoyed that. But maybe if I, you know.
Yeah, I think it's just sense. Like, it's just, I think I said to you yesterday, I feel like what I just don't like about this film is kind of what it stands for in like terms of Marvel, because it is like, they do try to explain who Kang is, but it's sort of like, if you watch Loki, you'd know probably a bit better. And it's sort of like, you need to watch Loki, and obviously I think the post-credit scene for this is like probably a clip from like Loki season 2, which is like, oh, you need to watch that now. And then Doctor Strange, when we saw that last year, it was like, oh, I hope you watched WandaVision, and then it's going to be, oh, I hope you watched.
No Marvel film is just on its own, and it was a bit like before Endgame, and they brought out Captain Marvel, and you just know the only reason why they had to do Captain Marvel standalone film was so that she could come in at the end in Endgame and destroy the ship and save everybody. That's the only reason why they had to do a Marvel film, is so that they had somebody who could save the rest of them and, you know, turn the fight around, you know. And that's the problem. There's nothing just, oh, this just is what it is, this is a good story, we're just going to do it, it's all, what's the purpose? And I can't be bothered to go through this series of, we've watched Ant-Man, now we've got to watch something else, we've got to see where Kang goes. It's basically just Thanos all over again. Like, I've already done it, like I've been there and done that, like I can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? It
just requires a lot from you. It's like doing homework, like for the sake of like enjoying a film, you know. Which is, I think now you're speaking about Captain Marvel, I can think why people probably think that this film is bad, because it's almost the same thing as Captain Marvel, but it does it like a little bit better. Where it's like it has a purpose. Like, this is to set up Kang, and then also to sort of bring up this like multiverse like war that's going to come. Because when they defeat Kang, it's like all the alternative versions of Kang who exist come together, and they're like, yeah, we're going to like go after the Avengers, basically. So it's to set up like that. But that's all the film really does. It doesn't do anything like on its own. Like, of course, there's no like real apart from like what it sets up, there's nothing really that happens. It's not like Ant-Man dies, or it doesn't really have anything like going on apart from what's going to come afterwards, and you'll be like, oh, I'm really glad I watched Ant-Man now because I understand what's happening. But that's like, you know, I wouldn't boot up this Ant-Man to watch like on the odd occasion, whereas like the first one I could very easily do that.
I could watch it again. Yeah. What do you think, here? Have you got Marvel fatigue?
They do too much at the moment, I think, because the TV shows, I haven't watched any of the TV shows because it's too much of a time sink. Like it's like the only Marvel TV show that I've watched is one that's not completely linked but got linked, is like Daredevil.
Yeah.
And those kind of series.
Because that was like before as well.
That was before they've kind of shooed it in now with Charlie Cox being in something from Home.
No Way Home.
And Annie's in
One of the Home.
Home and Home.
Home and Home. But yeah, like I liked those ones because they were kind of separate, a bit more gritty. They had like kind of something a bit unique to them.
Yeah.
Whereas these ones, it feels like they're just let's just churn them out.
Yeah, they're going for quantity and not quality. And I honestly think that since Guardians of the Galaxy was a big success, and I like the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Like I think they're really good, but they thought, hang on a minute, we're onto something here where it's a bit jokey and there's some popular music in it. Let's just do this with every single other film. But what made that film was, at the time, it was a completely different thing, wasn't it? But now they're just.
I think the thing is, like, they're trying to do that. They're trying to recreate James Gunn's style and the way that he did that, but they can't because they're not James Gunn. They need to
they just need to do their own thing.
Like, you know, I think it'd be a good idea to have like lots of different creative minds and like lots of different directors and have like different ways that they're taking, you know, various kind of characters and stories, and then they can kind of bring them all together. But you know, maybe keeping the same personalities and stuff that they've kind of created.
I just think they need to just stop, just for maybe 5 years. Say, right, we're not going to make anything. We're going to work on something that's really epic, and you know, and put all that effort into that, rather than just keeping going. Because
they need to try and like maybe cater to like the casual viewer a bit more, because I mean, it's sort of, we're probably more casual viewers than like, I mean, I keep up to date with what is happening, but like I'm not going to go
not by watching it.
I don't.
Reading about it.
Like with She-Hulk and stuff, like I wasn't interested in watching it, but I sort of kept up with what was actually happening. So it's just like, I feel like if you didn't know anything about the TV shows and you went to go see the next Avengers film and you saw that it's now Falcon is now Captain America, She-Hulk's in it, probably Cassie's like Ant-Man's daughter is probably going to be the new like Ant-Man stand-in.
Isn't someone gonna be Iron Man? Isn't Iron Man's daughter?
Oh no! They in Black Panther they brought like an Iron Man stand-in, and I think Ironheart was in it, and then they're going to do like an Ironheart film. So again, you're just going to go to it and you'd be like, oh god, who are all these people? Why is Daredevil in it now? Like, what's that? Because they're bringing like all these people in now, and they're changing like the structure around because they needed to. Because like Chris Evans and Hemsworth and Robert Downey Jr. aren't coming back.
That would make sense, but what they should have just done was gone, okay, that superhero's dead. What's the next? What's the new one that we're going to not like replace? I don't know. It just makes no sense. Like my brain just can't take it.
But yeah, I say that's like my issue with it. It's just that, because it is the symptom of like trying to expand this universe probably a bit too much, and like really leaving you out of the loop if you've missed like a few projects. You'd be like,
sometimes it's good to have things that are a bit ambiguous in film. When you watch a film and there's like do you know what, the only example I can think of is in God of War and Who Blew the Horn. You know, so basically it's like, who blew the horn? Don't spoil it for Kieran because he hasn't played Ragnarok. Right, well what I was going to say,
so there's
it's an unanswered question
within the thing.
We don't need to know the answer, because the mystery is so powerful that is what keeps us wanting to come back. Not actually all the questions are being answered. Where did Kang come from? It's already answered. Oh, who's Falcon? Oh, it's already answered. We already know his whole backstory. It's like, where's the mystery? You know?
No, I do get you. I think to come back on like our final point about Quantumania, because we went off
Right,
on a
that
major
wasn't
tangent
that
there.
we did not talk about Quantumania. We were just talking about Marvel.
No. So that's what, to bring it back, because again, this will be like probably the final point to talk about. Really, is just in terms of like what people are saying about the film. The main sort of good point is Kang and Jonathan Majors, like his performance of Kang. So I guess what did you guys?
Paul Rudd. Can we just not?
Yeah, but Paul Rudd's
Let's not forget about Paul Rudd.
All the performance. Like,
We love him.
There's not really a bad performance apart from maybe I didn't really like his daughter in the film. I didn't like Cassie. I thought Cassie
that was the
kind of
worst
annoying.
plot line in the whole film for me. I don't understand in films where a child, even though she's not a child, but the kid, the daughter, the son, whatever, they're like, "Oh, Mum, I just can't believe that I can't believe that this is what you do with your life." And they're like questioning. It's like, I would never do that in real life. Like, could you imagine if I went up to my mum and I was like, "Oh, Mum, I just really don't agree with your views on such and such." She'd be like, "Shut up and go away." And it's like, I just don't get how kids can do, and it's in every single film. Do you not think?
Yeah.
And it winds me up so much. Like, it's just, it's like, just listen.
I think if you do it tastefully, it's fine. As long as you're not like, kind of disparaging them, then it's okay. But
I think like Cassie, I feel like Cassie is so perfect to like no fault really. Obviously
she thinks she's it.
Obviously it's her
That's
fault that they get to the quantum realm, because her whole thing is that she was just tampering with science.
And this is why it's annoying, because everybody had said, "Leave it alone, don't do it, forget about it, whatever," And then her being the daughter, Cassie, and then Hope being a daughter, nobody was listening to the next person. And it's like, actually, if you just listen to what the next person has got to say, rather than just thinking, "Oh, you don't know me," But I feel like that's more of a world problem.
I mean, you have that, but like Cassie's still a child, and I feel like Michael Douglas's character is just reckless by nature.
Yeah, he's a child at heart.
And like Hope is the same, because they all like they're scientists, so they're like curiosity. Too much for them. So I don't necessarily mind that, because that's kind of that is kind of like the character traits of those specific characters, and maybe Cassie a little bit, but she is a child, so
it's like the film.
How old is she actually meant to be?
I feel like she's not that old. She was 6 when Ant-Man 1
It's the same. It's the same girl, isn't it?
No,
it's not the same girl. That's why. That's such a shame, because I really liked Cassie in the first 2 films.
Yeah, but then it's because well, in the context of the film, it's because 5 years passed since since the Thanos snap, and then 5 years passed, so she grew older. But obviously Ant-Man was in the quantum realm, so he didn't age, and he was only there for like 5 hours, not 5 years. So it's like that. So obviously that's why. But then I didn't realize they actually recast her, because she's in Endgame ever so briefly, and they recast her from that into who's playing her in this film. And the actress who was in Endgame said, "Oh, I'm kind of like disappointed in a way that hopefully I can come back at some point." So I felt a bit bad for her that she.
I
did think she was in Endgame, because you just like you said like 5 years had passed, but I did think the original actress was in Endgame. So.
Yeah, because it's like Scott goes back home, doesn't he? And
he goes to the front door.
Yeah,
all grown up.
So because I mean her whole they don't. It's not really a point of conflict, is it? Because she doesn't hate him for being away for 5 years. Obviously, that couldn't really be helped, because the whole universe got snapped away. But whole again, she's like, she is again perfect to a fault, where she's just like, "Oh, I really want to save people. Oh, I really want to like be better than my dad and stuff like that." So it's just like, I just found it quite annoying. But my main point before was going to be about Kang, because obviously so people say he's like the best like performance wise in the film. So what did you guys think about Jonathan Majors?
I thought it was alright. Do you know what? I honestly felt no way, which I feel like is the same with a lot of this film. Like, I enjoyed it overall, but I sort of felt no way about everything. Do you know what I think it is with Kang? I was just a bit like, as I've said before, I can't go through this again with another big bad thing where they've all got the same, Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, actually, I've got no intention of following your journey. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I mean, I think he did a good job in it.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. I'm sure he had, loads of fun at the end, where there was like the thousands of Kangs, and he was pretty, dressed up.
You
So
know?
he's probably going to have like a lot of fun
Yeah.
doing it. And he's good. I think he's a good cast for the next big bad, because Josh Brolin was a good cast for Thanos.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a good step forward for the next
Yeah.
big bad as well. So it's kind of just seeing the journey that it's going to take going forward.
And I guess like because he's got like the thing of there being multiple versions of the same character, like how he interprets like that character in whatever the different films are.
If he can do different personalities for each one, then I feel like that would be really cool.
Yeah, because it definitely like that first when you meet him properly, when it's like him talking to Ant-Man, like you can tell like he sort of controlled like the room, and he is like intimidating in a way, because obviously he just sort of
he's definitely scary.
It's a calm intimidation. It's not like
aggressive.
Not like aggressive.
Yeah.
Like in your face kind of thing. It's like, this dude can just
And I did feel
you.
like when they were fighting him, I did think, actually, there's stakes here. Like it's not just, I know that they're going to win, but like it did feel he was.
I did think, because he has like lasers basically he shoots, because there's like that scene where he just like massacres all these like people in like the final battle. But I was just thinking, why didn't he just do that to like Ant-Man? Like it's the classic one. But I was just like, you've literally just like showed him like killing all these people. Why does he just kill them all there? But again,
do you want me to do the line that I always do, which you said that wasn't actually in the film, but I was right?
Go on.
He starts monologuing, and you were like, he doesn't actually say that in Incredibles, and I'm like, no,
he does.
It's not Syndrome who says it, it's Frozone who says it. So I am right when they're in the car. But then Frozone, Syndrome then says, you got me monologuing. But that's the same thing. That's why that's so funny, because it's true of every film. The villain's like, I could just shoot you in the head right now, but they don't, because they think they're it and they want.
But then, to be fair, they do have like a bit at the end where, like, even when his lasers get taken away, he still like beats the crap out of Paul Rudd, like in the final fight. Like, they both.
Oh, definitely.
He would have won, like if he didn't get sucked into the portal or whatever. So again, quite a good like intimidating, and like the acting was good as well. And he was. I'd be interested to see what he does. But as you say, I'm sort of not too fussed. Like, where the sort of goes from here,
I feel like before we move on, I just want to bring up 2 points which I really didn't like about the film. And they're both in the final fight. And one of them's the fact that he was mentioning that he's like fought against people like Thor.
Yeah.
And yet he's like having kind of like, he's beating Paul Rudd. Yeah. But no more than like a boxer would beat a regular person.
Yeah.
And that was like, if he's Thor, then there's no way that he's going to.
Well, I mean, he also and like in the final battle, like he's got his force field up, and like basically like a bunch of ants, like an army of ants, come along, which I did like that joke or like the setup, because it's like they went into the quantum realm with like Ant-Man and stuff, but like they like traveled through time and like became like really, really smart, and they had like a whole ant civilization. So it's just like Michael Douglas like just like absolutely loving how smart these ants are, like and it's just him like when he's like sort of stood there on the bridge and it's like all these ants like going past him, and he's just like
pretty cool.
it's just like, I'm Death, destroyer of worlds. So it's just like what I was just thinking he was like. But no, that was Kang's got like his force field up, and like all the ants are like trying to push through. And again, it's all why don't you just laser all the ants? Like, you seemed pretty,
But can he do a force field and do the laser at the same time?
Well, I suppose if he lasered the ants before they came up to the force field, then that would have, saved him a lot of time.
Safety in numbers, though, isn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
If you had a gun in your hand and there were a million rats running towards you, would your instinct be to fire the gun?
For reference, I've just put the gun to my head.
That's what I mean. You'd just be like,
that is true.
Yeah.
What's your second gripe, Kieran?
The second one is after they beat Kang and the portal's closed and Ant-Man and the Wasp are stuck in the quantum realm. Cassie just goes, beep, and the portal opens back up.
Yeah, I honestly thought they were going to end it with them just being stuck there, and it's sort of
I thought they were going to be stuck
so
there.
much better.
And that's like them. That's like them dying.
No, what I was thinking was, I thought they were going to be stuck there, and what I was thinking was, oh God, there's going to be another film where they're trying to get somebody from the quantum realm, because that's what all films. Because that's what all the films are. But
or they could have done it where they were stuck in the quantum realm and they had all these super intelligent ants, and then the super intelligent ants help them get out of the quantum realm. And when they're fighting Kang, all the ants can come out with them, and that's how they can kind of turn the tide of the fight.
That'd be good. Yeah,
that would have been so much better.
That would have been. Yeah, we should have just wrote the film for them. You know? I thought you were going to mention, because you said this in the cinema, about how when they're fighting or when they're because they got the helmets. They keep taking the helmets off every single time. Even
actually, you know what? That annoyed me to no end. They're in the middle of a fight, everyone's shooting guns, and they're like, I need to grab some air, get out of my helmet that's going to protect me from a fatal shot to the head.
And even Kang does it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Kang does it, MODOK does it. If MODOK kept his mask on the entire time, no one's going to complain about his face being stupid.
Yeah, no, they could, yeah.
It was funny, I was watching a clip of an interview with whoever plays Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was her character's name, but it's not. And she was saying, when you have to do, she was saying, you have to go like pretend to shrink down when the action is shrinking down, and when you put in your helmet on, you have to like tilt your head back or tilt your head forward, almost like nod, and that's when they'll do this.
Yeah.
It's like, and I just thought, I bet that's like awful. I bet that's one of the, when you're like, I bet that actor's having so much fun doing this. It's like the opposite of, I bet that's well annoying to be like, I have to pretend and then go like that, and I've got to pretend I've got a helmet on. I bet that must be so annoying.
But no, that did, it's just like, they did it so much in that film. It's like, what are you idiots doing? Like, just because Iron Man did it doesn't mean you have to do it.
That took me off. Those two things, they're the worst ones.
Yeah.
The other one, less so, but those two definitely.
Yeah. So I feel like we have been talking for ages, but do you know what I was thinking? I was thinking, if we had like a Patreon, then we could say, head over to our Patreon to see our reviews on the normal Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp. But we don't have that. So should we talk about actual Ant-Man?
I don't think we're going to have like much to say about those films.
There's definitely not as much to say.
I mean, the first Ant-Man for me is quite a solid film, really. I hadn't seen it until we rewatched it like this week, or I watched it for the first time this week, and I thought that was pretty good, because when it first got advertised, I didn't really know who Ant-Man was, and I was a bit like, I just don't care, probably not going to watch this, but I'm sort of glad I have watched it now.
And as I said at the start, it was a good standalone film before Marvel became this whole thing.
Yeah,
I think I enjoyed like the whole cast in Ant-Man as well. Like people like is it Michael Pena?
Yeah.
Like his little bits in the film
we
are
love
just
him.
like really good.
I loved the bit, I wrote this down, where, and they do this in all the films actually, where he's like, so I went to see this guy, and then this guy told me this, and then it's Michael Pena's voice, but the voice is talking, and then I don't know why, but I really like stuff like that. And we were saying when he came up on the film, it was like, do you remember when he was in everything? He was just in absolutely everything. I've not seen him in anything for a while. I'm sure he's still doing films, but he was in absolutely everything, and it was funny to look back.
I think like for the first two films, it is like that smaller scale, and like it feels like a more like human there's like a more human side to it, because the first film is basically a heist film with
it is,
but he just gets the Ant-Man suit, like it's just they need to do like a heist.
It's not really a superhero film.
No.
That's why I think it was a little bit better, because they're not following this exact same format. Like it's very similar, but they've got a unique twist on it, and that's what they need to do to keep people engaged.
Because then like as well, like again talking about like the Ant-Man and the Wasp and the original Ant-Man film, what makes those films good and what Quantumania was lacking is sort of that like it's like the sense of scale, but obviously like when they shrink down they do like more gimmicky stuff, like the final fight scene in like
when we came out of the cinema, one of the first things my mum said was, I only like it when they're in the real world, because it's like it's funny to see, he's really small, but here's like a flower and it's massive. Or he's really big and he's the size of the building. You go, whoa, look how big he is. Where there's not that.
Yeah, well, the final fight scene in number one is like when they're on like the kids' toy train track, and it's like the Thomas the Tank Engine like comes up and he's like, it's gonna run me over, and it's just like you're just looking like the real world view, it just topples over.
Tips over.
And then like when they make like you know, the like everyday stuff like really big, like when it's the like well in the second film actually they make like their cars go
There's more
really
of that
small,
in the second film,
and like the building they make tiny and use as like a suitcase, like that stuff's really cool, but then they didn't really do it as much in Quantumania, which again that's why it's all maybe that type of superhero does just work in like the normal world, because you can appreciate what they do.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like I would go back and watch the Ant-Man and the Wasp again, but maybe not Quantumania, because I think it's just a bit much, although I did enjoy it, you know. But not as much as the first Ant-Man.
Yeah, no, at first Ant-Man's better. I mean, me and you went to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp when that first came out, 2018, I think.
Whenever ago.
Yeah.
God, was it that long ago?
Yeah, fair while back.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I remember very little. I remember there being a ghost person, and I think Lawrence Fishburne's in it.
Yeah.
Yes, he is in it, yeah.
That is most of what I remember.
Yeah.
I mean,
remember
what you're remembering is actually probably like the side plot. I feel like that is so like
I'm pretty sure you said that there was like an arms dealer or something in it. And I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, that's probably why the second one's not as good as the first one, because they really do try and like cram all these people. Because like the main plot is them trying to get Michelle Pfeiffer out of the quantum realm, but to do that they need to buy a particle off of some arm dealers who also want to steal their technology.
There's a lot
and then they
going
go see
on.
Lawrence Fishburne, who also wants to steal their technology to like heal the
it's
ghost
a bit
girl.
like Puss in Boots, where they're all trying to get the last wish.
But not as good. Not as good as Puss in Boots. So yeah, that's all the issue. But then again, it just has like the set pieces are like enough to like watch it and like really enjoy it, I think.
And there's good humour in it as well.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
a lot better humour in those first two films.
Yeah.
How do they end up getting her out in the end?
They basically make like the quantum tunnel.
Just their plan works essentially. So they get the quantum tunnel and they go and Michael Douglas goes down, but it basically picks her up like
he
in a
takes
car.
like a spaceship down, and
Is that the one they used in Endgame?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Makes sense.
I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen Endgame. So
I can't
remember.
remember what they used it for, but I just remember in Endgame they had to try and get to the van because it's the horn, and they're like, oh, does anyone see the van?
It was really funny, like watching the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp and the end credits bit. Was it the credits bit or
I think
just
it's post
bit?
or the mid credits?
The mid credits bit, and it was Ant-Man going into the quantum realm, and then everybody getting like
snapped.
When the snap happens, and it's like, oh, that feels like ages ago, and that was like the storyline, and that was what was kicking off. Like it was really like it
is
weird.
like that. Yeah, it's just like that time when everything was well, and like when you thought Endgame.
I mean, I do think
end.
that was great. Like, you know, I loved like Infinity War and Endgame. Like, I loved those films. Like,
well, I think like I
just don't need to see it again.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
I mean,
like,
also
as
you
in
watch the first Ant-Man, and then that's like I think the mid credits or post credits for that is a clip from Civil War. So you're like, oh man, like that was leading up, and I really liked Civil War, and then you watch Ant-Man and the Wasp, and that's lead up to Endgame, and that's a brilliant film. Whereas like you don't really.
I love Civil War.
Yeah.
I really think that that's my favourite of the Marvel films. Apart from Spider-Man Homecoming, I love that film to bits. But I love Civil War.
Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
Are the kind of that's the best trilogy they've
Well, I think
Yeah.
Spider-Man and Guardians are like the two. Because
Yeah.
I mean, Guardians 3 is like the only like Marvel project I'm like excited to see.
True.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so would be interesting to see what I have. We can talk about that in an episode one day. Guardians.
We can see where they go.
We
Just
can do
as
the
me and Matt are
Guardians
going to have to
trilogy.
keep watching all the Marvel films.
It's not too far away now.
No, it's like May, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, is it in May?
Yeah.
You're joking.
No.
I can't believe that.
No, I'm not.
I didn't think
not
it was
joking.
that soon.
So yeah, we can talk about
God.
that, and I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm actually excited to see what they do with it, because as I said, I just can't be bothered, but I will watch it.
Yeah.
Because that's
Guardians,
here we are.
I am excited for. The rest of them,
Yeah.
I'll watch.
Roll on Spider-Man 4. I've heard that it's in the works. I think they're writing it at the moment. I can't wait for that. And they are bringing back Tom Holland, as far as I know. So as long as he continues being Spider-Man for the rest of my life, I'll be happy. My Spider-Man.
I assume we're probably about to wrap up now.
Yeah.
But before we do, I have one last gripe with Marvel films, and that's where that's where they put this character will return at the end of all of their
Yeah.
films.
Question mark.
It really.
Well, it's just a bit.
Why do I care?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's not like when it was it at the end of not Justice League. No, Man of Steel. Where they say, don't they say that at the end? Superman will return. Did they say that at the end of that?
Spider-Man will return.
Am I right though? Do they say that at the end?
I don't know.
Because
I can't
what I was
remember.
going to
It's been
say
so many
was
years.
that's completely different, but they do it at the end of
Well,
the
the problem-
film.
Yeah.
Like they did it in some of them, like when they did it at the end of Civil War, where they said Spider-Man will return.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's what like they put Kang will return. It's like, well, yeah.
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 That's clearly what the next million films are going to
Very
be about.
obvious by the end scene. Like what?
Well, the problem you get is, well, just because of how like pre-planned these films are. Like I remember when it was like Black Panther, like the trailer for it came out, but then they also announced like Infinity War, and you knew he was going to be in that. So it's like, I know Black Panther's not going to die in this film because he's in the next film. So it's just like because they announced all these films in advance, you're just like, well, I know they're going to come back. Like this film has no stakes now. I don't care.
You're dead right.
Yeah.
You're dead right.
That's the end of my rants with Marvel films.
The cinematic Trinity will return.
No.
But I guess just quickly before we wrap up, then how would you rank, like in terms of the Batman films? What would be your number one?
I
number
think
two,
they
number
do
three?
go in order as the first one's the best, the second one is still good, the third one is good, but the first one's definitely the best.
agree. Yeah.
I really think they go that
I'd
way.
have to go 1, 3, 2 because I can't remember 2 at all. So
Well, I'd recommend watching it, Kieran.
there we go.
Well, actually, but yeah, you may
I
as well.
maybe will.
Mate, let's watch it now.
But thank you very much, guys, for listening to this episode. I don't even know how long we've been talking for, but
So
again,
apologies.
thank you very much for listening to us rant about Marvel there, however long, and we will catch you guys in the next episode. I've been Michael.
I've been Tulip.
And I've been Kieran.